All right, good day, everybody. This is Jailbird Earl with Jailbird Earl Jr. And we're going to talk about today about The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. And the writing's backwards because the camera is face fronting. But anyways, enough about that. This is my second time reading the book. I enjoyed it more this time than I did the previous time because after reading all the series, I see the breadcrumbs that Robert Jordan put in place and that what will take effect later on. This was Gilbert Earl Jr.'s first time reading the book, and so he's yet to see what these breadcrumbs are and how they play a part later in the series.
Yes.
So this is kind of like the opposite of our
our Wings of Fire one because he's read this whole thing. He's read the whole series. I've read the whole series of the Wings of Fire. So now we're just swapping that.
Now it's opposite, right? But I am by no means an expert of the Wheel of Time series. There's some channels out there who dedicate their whole time and digging deep into these books. I am not that way, but we're just gonna give, hopefully, this first part here a non-spoil review.
Non-spoily.
Yeah. So this is a fantasy book, and like your typical fantasy books, it always starts out with some peasants, usually a peasant boy or somebody who's not known, of the lesser class.
Someone who is unimportant.
Yes, unimportant, but they are secretly very important. And this is how this book starts out. We start out in this village called this area called Two Rivers, but their village is called Emmons Field. And we follow the story of Rand, Mattram, or Matt, and Perrin, and on their adventures. And Rand is just a sheep herder. Mattram is
a troublemaker.
A troublemaker, right? He's a jokester, but his family does like trades horses. And then Perrin is a blacksmith, or trained to be a blacksmith. And so that's how the story starts out. And then about the first 4 or 5 chapters is basically about them trying to do backstory on them, trying to get the reader to know. But I do like the prologue. The prologue is very interesting. Did you find the prologue interesting?
Yes, I did.
Yes, and there's a lot of stuff and a lot of information in the prologue.
I kind of got lost a little bit through the prologue. I'm just like, okay, this is happening. I'm just like, I know what's going on. And then something else happens. I'm just like, okay, what?
Yes. So the prologue happens, I believe, 2,000 to 3,000 years before the story.
Completely different age.
Yeah, so it's like, right. So
that reminds me of the other book.
Yeah,
reminds me of Darkstalker. Takes place 2,000 years before the first one.
Right. So in a lot of ways, like you said, it's a typical fantasy book as it starts out. And so, but there's a lot of information in the prologue that will carry over, not only in this book, The Eye of the World, but but in future books, about 5 or 6 books down the line, they play even more important this prologue. So that's why I find it interesting reading this book for a second time, as I say, so that's why. So he was setting up some event that happened 10 books down the line from now. So it was very good at that part. And then we meet our first...
Yeah, but I wouldn't know that.
No, you don't know it yet.
I do now.
Yep, you know that, but you don't know what part of the prologue takes place.
Can I say all of it?
I'm going to say all of it, but yeah. So then, of course, like any other book, the soon-to-be hero has to meet a mentor. And in this case, the mentor is a lady named Moraine, who's an Aes Sedai, and Aes Sedai has the power to... She has magical powers, to say the least. And she's kind of, would you say, cold throughout the book? Or just...
It's kind of like, she sees a goal and she's like, I'm not going to stop until I get that goal.
Right, she's hell-bent on accomplishing her goal, and she doesn't care what gets in her way. She's going to achieve it.
She's going to obliterate anything that gets in her way.
Right. So about 5 chapters into the book, it really takes off as this little village gets attacked by animal-like men. Trollix, who are like animal-like creatures. You can walk on 2 legs.
Basically, if you know what a skinwalker is, then you can kind of picture that.
Yeah, something like that. But like they're men, but they have heads like of a pig or of a bear or
just imagine
disinformed.
Just imagine a human with a bunch of animal features instead of.
Yep. And they're controlled by these creatures called
Midral.
Yeah, Midral. I can never. I cannot say words
We're
very well.
We're gonna call them fades that's what they are.
Yes, they're called fades in the book, and it's a lot easier. And so they're controlled by these fades, and these fades are kind of like the horsemen in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they're kind of like that.
Yeah.
Except I think they're probably worse.
Yeah, they're a little worse. And so they attack, and then of course the Aes Sedai, who are women who have magical powers, and you later find out that men can be Aes Sedai as well. At least back, and it's explained in the prologue as well. Anywho, she helps them defeat these Trollix who are trying to get Rand and his friends, and then from there they travel to Tarvalon, which is a city where these Aes Sedai, these ladies with magical powers, live. Some people call them witches. And they go on many adventures, I guess. Many interruptions, I would say.
Interruptions? Sure, or are they just taken off the road and thrown onto a different one?
Basically, that happens a lot.
That's what it seems like. It's basically like some guy's just like, boom, you're on that path now.
Right.
It's just like, oh, I'm on this path, walking all the way, and then someone just kicks them onto the other one, and they're just like, oh, I guess I'm on this one.
Right. Yeah, so, exactly. So, Robert Jordan does a very good job. He gets to the very good details of the surroundings, what people look like.
They're very long paragraphs.
Yes. Right. But he also is able to move the story along, too, so you don't get too bogged down. Sometimes you get a little bogged down, but he is able to move the story along very well.
Feels like 90% of his story is description, while the other 10% is dialogue
and action.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
He does a very good job of world building. So if you like books that builds the world where you can see it and see it in your mind, he's able to do that very well, and he really puts you inside this world. He does an excellent job of doing that. And so as they're traveling, these people do get separated there for a while, and then eventually they reunite, and they are still trying to go to Tarvalon. However,
things happen.
Yes, things happen, and they change their plans, so they have to go to the Eye of the World, which is basically like the North Pole, I guess.
I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something weird. It's something.
Yeah, it's very north. It's very north.
Something.
It's very north. It's very cold until they get too close to the Eye of the World, and they get this.
Cold. It's not cold.
It is cold, but it's cold when they get up there. But when they get into this little area they call the Blight, and then it gets hot.
Yeah.
So it's like this Blight is something that's unnatural. Even though they're very north, and everywhere outside the Blight's cold, it's very warm in there. And they got strange creatures that can kill you, like trees attack you.
It's basically an entire forest of whomping willows.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Except they won't wait for you to touch them.
Yes.
So just do it.
And then once they get up there, I mean, this is just I guess hopefully we don't give too much away, but once they get to the north,
away pretty much all the story.
Once you get to the north, into this Blight, you get to the Eye of the World, and then they have to fight
the Forsaken.
Yes, it's the Forsaken.
Because their names cannot be pronounced.
Beelzebub, right?
What did you say?
Beelzebub? I don't know. But
it sounds like you're saying Beelzebub. I'm just like, I don't think he's in this book.
But his name sounds something like that. And
it's like that guy, and then
well, actually, I take that back.
It's like Agmir, right? One of them's Agmir, and the other one's like B something. It starts with a B.
Yeah, Beelzebub. Isn't it Beelzebub?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's one of those.
There we are, fumbling through this. Anyways, so they have to fight 3 of these Forsaken. And Forsaken are the ones... 3.
Where's the third one?
I'll tell you here in a second. Forsaken are the ones who serve, like, the devil. Like the...
His name even sounds like the devil's name. It's Shaitan. It's just like, that name sounds familiar.
Right. And Shaitan is what causes evil in this world. And so they serve him, and they have to fight these guys.
Wait, if evil is his baby, who's his wife?
I didn't say his baby.
It says all evil comes from him. All evil is born from him, so who's his wife?
So no, I don't think he has one. I don't think he has one. Anyway, so they fight, and do they win or not? We don't know. We're not going to tell you here.
We do know. We're just not going to tell you.
Yes, we're not going to tell you because this is supposed to be a review. So that's basically the plot.
Pretty bad reviews. As far as reviews go.
But this is basically the plot. They, you got your regular peasants who don't think they're important. And then you got this...
It's like, happy birthday, you're super important, don't die.
You got this magical person that comes to them and says, you are important, come with me so we can find out how important you are, basically. And then at the end, they fight this mysterious dark figure. But the book is very good. I like the details. The magic system... I didn't like the magic system and the Wings of Fire book, but this is very good. You have to be born with it, and
same in the Wings of Fire.
Well, okay,
you have to be born with it.
Yes, you have to be born with it, but on this one, you have boundaries.
Yeah, and
you can't be 2 million miles away and break a stick and kill everybody. Or anything like that.
It's just like, when I break this stick shall impersonate all dragons' necks.
Right.
Bam, you win.
Exactly. And so there are limits to what magic they can do, and it depends on the person. This first book doesn't really explain that very well, but I don't think it does. But depending on how much power...
it doesn't really... The only way it really does explain it is in the glossary, and then it's just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Or if you have, like, this person right here next to you while you're reading it, and you can bombard him with questions.
Right, so each witch or each Aes Sedai has certain power. Like, some of them are very powerful because they're born with it, and some of them don't have hardly any power. And so, depending on how much power they have, it's more magic they can do.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways... That is... I don't know. Anything you want to add? What you liked about it? About the story?
It was a good story. It's a good story. A lot of weird things in it.
A lot of weird things
of weird things in it.
Yep. And like I said, it's very, very good book, and it has a lot of breadcrumbs and a lot of...
Better take a broom.
Foretelling.
Take a broom and sweep up those breadcrumbs.
Yeah. A lot of foretelling in this story that will happen later on. Later on in the other books, and he does a great job of introducing new characters, and that you don't think are important, and they're not very important in this book, but later on they become important characters and characters that you'll love. But this book mainly just focuses on Rand, Matt, and Perrin, and Moraine.
Sure it's not just Rand.
Oh, also I forgot about the women too.
Haha.
But we'll talk about that a little late in the next video more about the characters. This is just to give you an overall idea of the book. I like it. I highly recommend it. If you love fantasy, this is a must read. You have to read it.
Actually, there's not as much of a gory description in that, is there?
No.
As in the Wings of Fire.
No.
There isn't.
This is more of a children's book.
It's more like you just...
Well, I wouldn't say this is a children's book, but it's...
words that you can't even pronounce. Yeah. You're like 40.
So. There's not much of a children's book, but it is... But, I don't know, there are some. Anyways, we can stop getting sidetracked here. Anyways, I highly recommend it. It's a must-read for fantasy lovers.
Not a must-read.
Yes, it is a must-read.
Nothing is a must-read.
This is a must-read.
It's a must-read for
it's
you.
very influential to other...
Influential?
Yes, influential to other fantasy writers. It's a great book to read, and it's a great book to read to get started in the fantasy world, and you'll love it. So I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. What do you think?
Probably 4.5. 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah, I need it. It takes a while for me to catch up.
Yeah. It takes a while to read it too, and 4. I'll have to lower. I'm going to say 4 out of 5 stars because while it's a very good book, it's not as great as the ones that follow it.
Okay.
And so this is our first review. We recommend this, and then our next videos are going to be talking more about the story and the characters. Have a great day, and sayonara.
Bye.